I'm very pleased to introduce our alumni of the year, Dr. Norman Erie, class of 1953, and his wife Irene, class of 1943. Irene passed away 2 years ago. Norman has established the Irene Erie Scholarship for students at the University of Great Falls to honor her memory. We are grateful for Norman's generosity and pleased to be able to mark Irene's life with a scholarship for our students. Norman and Irene have an extraordinary story, a story, a lifetime of love, remarkable partnership, and a wonderful family. And it began one fall day when a new high school teacher, a graduate of the College of Great Falls, arrived in Eureka, Montana. I'm going to let Norman tell the rest of the story.
Graduates, congratulations. Families, faculty, President McAllister, and dignitaries. My name is Norman Erie, and I'm going to tell you a short story about two people who grew up in separate small towns in Montana and somehow got together and lived a pretty exciting, busy, and productive life with each other. The lady was Irene Konechny, and she was born in Stockton, some 20 miles from here. When she was 3, her father was killed in an automobile accident, and shortly after that, the Great Depression started, so the family really struggled for a few years. When she was high school age, she moved to Great Falls and lived with the John D. Stevenson family. He was a local attorney, went to St. Mary's Catholic High School, where she excelled, graduated in 1944, then enrolled at the College of Great Falls, graduated with honors in 1947. To me, she was brilliant, she was very self-confident, very mentally strong, and she lived with very high personal standards in everything she did. I was not born, but I was raised in Eureka, a small town 65 miles northwest of Kalispell, about 300 miles from here. My dad was a farmer in North Dakota, but lost his farm in the Depression, moved to Eureka in 1937. After a period of time of just small jobs, got on with the Great Northern Railroad, where he worked the rest of his life. Years later, my older brother worked for the Great Northern Railroad, and I was sort of expected to do the same. But I had dreams of furthering my education and going into the healthcare field. But I had no idea how to get there because I had no resources. In 1948, Miss Konechny came to Eureka as my high school teacher in English and literature. She made those dreams come true for me by getting me a scholarship here at the College of Great Falls and a position at Columbus Hospital as a student x-ray technician. By the time I graduated from high school, I was hopelessly in love with her. Against great and what I thought prohibited what? What's the word I want? Well, anyhow, I didn't think I could ever win this lady over, but I'm sure with the help of the Almighty, I somehow convinced her to be my girlfriend. She had 1 year of her contract left in Eureka, and I finished my first year at the College of Great Falls, and we were married in July of 1951. Then I graduated from college in 1953, and encouraged by my wife, I applied for admission to the medical school at the University of Washington. To my absolute amazement, I was accepted. So we left for Seattle in 1954 in the fall with one child, 8 months old, another child on the way, and a little over $300 to our name. My wife was confident. I wasn't so confident. After the second child was born, she worked as a social worker at Harborview Hospital, while I continued on in medical school, graduating in 1958. We then entered the Navy, and I interned at the U.S. Naval Hospital in Great Lakes, went to flight surgery school, and finished out my military career at the Naval Air Station on Whidbey Island, which is about 75 miles north of Seattle. We then opened a private practice in Richland, Washington. Irene managed my office so that I could spend all my time on patient care. We lived a very fulfilling and wonderful life together. About 2 weeks after our 61st wedding anniversary, the angels came and took her from me. She left behind her husband, 4 children, and 8 grandchildren. Because of her strong belief in the importance of education, all of us have at least a college education, except for Adam, who's only 14. Including me, there are 2 physicians, an attorney, 2 nurses, 2 engineers, an opera singer, a teacher, 2 business majors. One works for Microsoft and the other for the Bureau of Reclamation, and 1 fine arts major. In closing, let me congratulate all you graduates on your many successes and commend the parents and the families for their sacrifices, but also for their wise decision to send you to this gem of a university, the University of Great Falls. When I went off to Seattle and met my medical school classmates for the first time, in those days we didn't have printouts, but we were given a mimeograph sheet of paper that listed all of the names of my classmates and the universities we had attended. There were 75 of us. 3 were Harvard graduates, 1 Cornell, 4 Stanford, and of course the majority from the University of Washington and Washington State. Then there were a number from smaller private universities, mostly in Washington. There were 5 students from Montana. As I read this list and mingled with my classmates and was asked over and over again, the College of Great Falls, where's that? I began to feel a little insecure. In fact, maybe I'm over my head here. In fact, I was terrified. But as classes began, it soon became apparent to me that my foundations given me by the College of Great Falls in biology, chemistry, and math were very comparable to all my classmates, and indeed I could compete. So, graduates, I can stand here confidently and tell you that the University of Great Falls has prepared you well for your future, whether you're going to go on into the workforce now or continue on in higher education. They've given you the proper tools here so that you certainly can succeed if you apply yourself. Finally, I want to thank President McAllister and the governing board of the University of Great Falls for bestowing on my wife and I this prestigious award. Irene would be pleased, and I'm honored and humbled. Thank you.
Standing ovation.